Happy New Year again. This is the Ord Cruz, your Life Applications Officer. One more video on this topic. I could never live anywhere else. What made me do this video was I looked at an ad that showed up on my phone that was telling me how to retire in Mexico. I have nowhere else to nationalize. I have nowhere else to enjoy. I don't have it. I don't have anywhere else to enjoy, my culture, as Mr. Richard Spencer would say. Um, my culture. I don't have anywhere else, Mr. Richard Spencer, to enjoy my culture other than the United States. And what is my culture? What is it? Mr. Spencer must be under some, and I already know, but Mr. Spencer must be under some impression that he can tell me what my culture is. And that his culture is something totally over my head. Like it's something totally, unless you're talking about business, making big money. I gotta admit, I'm not very educated in starting my own retail business or you know, I've had a desire to run my own business, and every time I thought about running my own business, I thought about what's going to cost me. I've never been able to come up with the money to invest in a business. But what is my culture, Mr. Richard Spencer? What is it? Is it just football? Is it basketball? What is my culture? What is so-called black culture? Black culture, if you listen to a lot of older people talk, they'll tell you that black culture is the aftermath of slavery. Learning how to survive, learning how to depend on one another and come together as a race. When black folks invented things, when black folks invented things and came up with great ideas in this country, 100,000 other black folks didn't follow behind them. Now, for white folks, a lot of white folks followed behind those that came up with great ideas. Like a lot of white people studied Darwinism, for example. A lot of white people are still, which I don't agree with Darwinism. Okay, a lot of white people have grown up and um, uh, grown up on the Hitler era, and that's what they know. I know people that I've worked with that felt that Hitler never did anything wrong. And they'll say some stuff like the Jews today are different than the Jews back then, or they'll say something like the Jews learned their lesson, that's why they're so well behaved today, or something. They'll say that what Hitler did was good. It wasn't bad. You know. But is that your culture, though? Even if that's something that you did to better the world or clean up the world, is that really your culture? I mean, if we go out to war, we go out to war to keep our kids from having to go to war. We fight the war, therefore they don't have to. Okay? And they're too young at that time to fight the war anyway. We got to fight the war before we get too old to fight the war. And then once we fought the war, we can retire and live in happiness when we get old. And hopefully the war will be over so our kids don't have to go through it. And grandchildren. I could never live anywhere else but America. I can't go to Mexico. Why would I move to Mexico? Why would I retire in Mexico, as this app on my phone suggested, when I don't believe that those people have a right to come over here to this country? And just because I retire in Mexico, see, that's the problem with so-called, I'm not calling it white supremacy, but I'm saying that's the problem with so-called white supremacy. I don't hang out with people I don't agree with. Why would I go over to your country and I don't agree with you? You know, why would I go over to the Middle East and let somebody talk me into going to Saudi Arabia and seeing how beautiful it is in Saudi Arabia? You got to see this. Okay. When I don't believe that half of them belong over here. And I'm not saying Saudi Arabians don't belong in America. I'm saying that half the people that come over here don't belong over here. Half of them. You know why? Because they don't want to be Americans. They want to come over here to be what they already are. Leaving one country and moving into another. There has to be two things going on for you to be righteous for going over there. Number one, that country has to be a prototype of the country that you're already in. So therefore, a Muslim traveling from, let's say, Pakistan all the way to Iran, okay, and saying, I want to live in a bigger country, I'm moving to Iran, I want to be, you know what I'm saying? All he's doing is moving up steps as a Muslim. And when he gets out there, everything is pretty much the same. Okay? An Asian will tell you this. They can't just leave Japan and move to China. They can visit China if they feel that there shouldn't be a war, and if they feel that Chinese people are, you know, they're peaceful neighbors, and they have a desire for China to grow and multiply. It may be okay for a Japanese person to visit China, or even live in China for a while, because he has the same feelings towards China as he does for Japan. And vice versa, Korea. you know, moving to other Asian territories. And Asians understand this stuff. It's these people over here in this, it's blacks and whites over here in this democratic movement that are dumb about this stuff. You know, Arabs and Asians are smart about this stuff. And my problem with, and Africans that come over here to the United States, ask them, why are you here? I could never ever live anywhere else other than the United States. Why? Because I agree with the United States. I'm in agreement with the United States. If I didn't agree with the United States, yes, I would feel like a slave here, waiting for the rebuilding of Africa. I would still be trying to pick a place. But I've been here all my life. I was born here. My mother was born here. My grandmother was born here. And it's never been, as Richard Spencer was talking, I'm closing, it's never been about football for me. I don't even know how to play football. Never been about basketball. I'm too short for that. You know what I'm saying? I barely like rap music. What part of what is my culture, Richard Spencer, that I should separate myself from white folks? Or white folks should separate themselves from me? I barely like rap music. I don't even know how to play football. I suck at basketball. Okay? I'm a born-again Christian, which, from what I hear from a lot of black people, is pro-white. I didn't know that until 10 years ago. I started hearing that mess. Okay? Why do I need to leave, Mr. Richard Spencer? Why do I need to go back to Africa? Africans are coming over here. And a lot of them ain't coming over here for the same reason these Arabs are coming over here. This is where you need to educate yourself. Because when you come over here and you only eat at restaurants, only eat at Arab restaurants, you only wear Arab clothes, you only teach your family, you know, your language from your country. Okay? You know what I'm saying? And you come over here and you refuse to learn English. You got to ask for directions to get to the corner, but you refuse to learn English. You got to ask for directions so you know how to apply for some food, you know, get some food or fill out a job application. But you refuse to learn and speak good English. I learned in high school that I don't want to be accused of Ebonics. Once I learned what that word meant, I was like, whoa, black folks, stop it. Y'all know how to talk, right? Stop it. And we do know how to talk right. We do know how to talk right. We know how to sing our butts off. We know how to dance. We know how to cook. We know how to fight. Black folks. We know all this stuff. And we know how to fight MMA style. We know how to take karate lessons. We know how to fight the white man. We know how to fight the Chinese man. We know how to fight everybody. Why? Because we live in this country. We don't know any other country but this one. It's the only country we know. And some people are like, we should separate. And we should leave or you should leave. We all should leave. In closing, I'll say this. Maybe it's a good idea for some people to leave. When you are sitting next to me every day, and I'm trying more and more each day to believe in making America great again. Every day of my life, I want to make America great. Every day of my life, I want to get to know the people in this country. Like, I don't talk to a lot of Asian people. I haven't talked to many Asian people since Job Corps, when I had to kung fu them back to get them off me. These Vietnamese guys, okay? But these Asian guys over here in Pittsburgh, these Asian men and women over here in Pittsburgh, they don't like to communicate with black folks. I've had about 4 Asian people come up to me. One because she got stuck in my parking garage. The other 3 because they was lost. And when you can't understand their broken English or broken Asian, whichever one it is, okay, they get upset. And just, go on down the wrong street. Did I not just tell her to go right? She went left. Do I know my left and right, or does she not? But anyway, and then they come over here and there's people that come over here, they already hate black people, but they come over here to a country where half the population is black. There's people that hate Christianity, but they come over here to a country where Christianity is considered the central religion. See, when you come over here, okay, and you want to change what we're all about. See, this is why I believe that there's not that much of a difference between peaceful Muslims and the people that are pushing Islamic terror. Because, see, peaceful Muslims, what are you waiting on, peaceful Muslims? You're waiting for this country to become Muslim. Is what you're waiting on. That's why you dress the way you do. That's why you act the way you do. That's why you're not trying to learn better English. That's why you're not trying to blend and blend in, most of you. Because you know that eventually one of these days this place is going to be Muslim. That is your vision. That is the prophecy in the Quran. Mr. Richard Spencer, you're effing stupid, man. You need to focus on the people that really don't belong here. And not pick on people because they're having problems learning their own culture that's already here. But when people are they're trying to change our culture and make it become their culture. They're trying to flip everything around. Then that's when I believe that, yes, somebody needs to pack up and move on. But don't pick on the people that love being Americans. Whether they be black, white, Arab, Asian, Spanish, or whatever. People that love this country, that are here legally. Don't pick on them. Don't hate them. Don't try to separate from us. Separate from those that are coming over here and trying to change America to become something it never ever wanted to be. It swore it would never become. These are the people that I like to separate myself from. These are the people I want to say, take your raghead back to your own country. And I'm not talking about all Arabs. I'm talking about the ones that come over here and they just waiting patiently for enough terrorist attacks to happen so that they can have our country. That's the people you need to separate yourselves from. That's the people you need to protest against while they're busy blowing you up. You need to stop picking on people that are here for peace, true peace. For people that love this country, that hold the flag up high. Take a good look, mister. See that on the wall up there? You see that? You see that? Can you get a good picture of that? See that? What is that? Why don't I belong here, Mr. Richard Spencer? Why don't I belong here, Miss Lana Lockteff? Why don't you belong here, Miss Lana Lockteff? Do we really need to separate, Mr. Colin Flaherty, Mr. David Duke? Do we really need to separate? Or do we need to bring up the laws of this country and make everybody abide by them, whether they're black or white, Asian, Arab, or Spanish? What do we need to do? Do we really need to separate? Or do we need to get along and have one law in the midst of us that brings us all together and helps us respect each other for who we are? Do we all, or do we all need to have one culture and call that one culture American culture instead of all these different names and all these different political groups? I'm DeRoy Cruz, your Life Applications Officer. We are all already here. Let's start there. We are all already here. Let's start there. Mr. Richard Spencer, Miss Lana Lockteff, Mr. Colin Flaherty, Mr. David Duke. We are already here. Yes, deal with it. Create a plan of peace, or yes, you may pack your bags and move on. God bless you and Happy New Year.